everyone, welcome to the Human Threads. I'm your host Claire, and today we're looking at the community service through the perspectives of high school students. I'm joined by two guests, Kaitlyn and Sebin, who are second-year volunteers of TASSEL through the Singapore chapter.
Hi, I'm Kaitlyn.
Hi, my name is Sebin.
TASSEL stands for Teaching and Sharing Skills to Enrich Lives, and it's an organization dedicated to supporting families in rural Cambodia through providing quality English education, as well as financial and medical aid. So the first question is, how did you join TASSEL and what motivated you to do so?
At first, I got to learn about TASSEL through the club fair at the start of my freshman year, and I really liked what TASSEL offered there because I remember seeing the brochure and seeing all the pictures of the Cambodian students there, and it also had a lot of impactful statistics about how many students TASSEL teaches each year and how many students are impacted. And I was really motivated to also play a part in making that impact for the students there.
So when I was in middle school, I had gotten an email from TASSEL, just pretty much them front-loading what they do and like their mission. And I thought that I just kind of kept that in mind, kind of in my back pocket when coming into high school. I went to their vision night where they pretty much just kind of talked about what their club is, why we should join. It was a pretty good introduction. And then after I started just going to their general meetings, I just found more kind of purpose in being there. I thought the whole teaching idea, it was so new, so might as well give it a try in my high school years, and I just kind of kicked off from there.
Yeah, I really agree with that. Both at the beginning, in its simplest form, is just curiosity. So as a ninth grader, I had no idea what was going on. So it was just more about exploring things that I came across and then over time discovering and then refining those values. So my second question is, once you joined TASSEL and attended the first few meetings and vision night to hear about the context TASSEL operates in, what helped you find this kind of purpose in being there? Especially since I know TASSEL's introductory meetings can be very history-based with the Khmer Rouge and its effects.
Okay, I'll start off with this one. So I think before coming into TASSEL, to me, I didn't really know much about the history. I didn't even know the Khmer Rouge even existed. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about that. And I think even when I first joined the club or when I went to Vision Night, I heard it was a term that was kind of thrown around a little bit. And then they kind of introduced it. They kind of shared the cultural aspects of it as well and the effects of it on the elderly community and on the students today and overall the whole country. And I didn't really understand the full depth of the history until I actually went on the summer trip. So after my first year, I went on the summer trip, which was just 10 days of just kind of doing the physical work to what was introduced on the Vision Night. We did a lot of in-person teaching, giving medicine and whatnot. The first 2 days we went to kind of, I wouldn't call it an attraction, but it was more like, I guess you could call it that as well. But when we were there, we got to physically see the history in front of us. We got to see some of the, I don't know what to call it. It was a
killing fields.
And from there, we got to listen to kind of an audio and walking us through the history there. And from there, we can kind of understand the depth and the depth of their history. And then that kind of set the tone for the entire trip in the way that I'm looking at it now. Mm-hmm. I think because of that, the emotional attachment to TASSEL is on a greater level, meaning that because I understand the history and the effect that it has on the students, such as PTSD, nightmares, and how that and the physical abuse that some of these children are facing, it kind of brings greater meaning to the organization as a whole. And it creates more of this binding, unwritten agreement between me and my students saying that I'm going to make sure that you get something out of every 35-minute lesson I'm going to have with you.
Yeah.
I think Sebin basically phrased it really well, and I completely agree with her in the fact that I first entered and joined TASSEL without really knowing anything. I just knew that TASSEL taught students, and they talked about the Khmer Rouge a lot, and I knew that it was something that affected the students a lot, but I didn't know to which degree it was impacting the students' lives and the families that they were coming from. So the first year, I actually just taught without knowing very well where the students were coming from. But after the summer trip, I was able to fully connect with them and understand that the teaching that we do in TASSEL is actually very meaningful to them. It's something that gives them hope. It's something that allows them to live through every day. And that is what really rekindled my spark for TASSEL.
Yeah, the summer trip was definitely an incredibly eye-opening experience. I mean, it was basically doing what we do during video calls during the school year, but in person. But at the same time, I noticed so many more details that directly related to the quality and effectiveness of my teaching. There's a limited frame of the classroom that I can see through my laptop when I'm in Singapore doing a lesson through a video call. But being there in person, I was able to notice that there are students who can't see as well or hear as well. And so there's a need for me to articulate much more clearly what I'm saying and use, not just my voice, but also gestures and pictures on the screen to help support what I'm trying to get across. And these small details are kind of what enhances the students' learning, and that is a valuable part, and it was really a moment of reflection for me. And like Sebin said, kind of reinforcing this idea of that I need to use these 35 minutes really efficiently and purposefully. Then my last question is, what misconceptions do you think there are about volunteering or service?
I think a lot of people, especially in our SAS service community, or just like the community itself, it's very competitive. And I think oftentimes especially for service clubs, it's very difficult to devote yourself into the mission and into the service of the club when you're just joining them for fun. So I think that's one misconception that a lot of people have. People often think that a lot of members in service clubs are kind of just there to look good. And I think it's not avoidable. People will do this regardless of how hard the club tries to commit them. But I think we should make our service community more about... Actually, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
But yeah, that's the misconception that a lot of people have, that people are not committed and not dedicated.
Adding on to that, I think there's also an unconscious aspect. I don't know if unconscious is the right word, but what I mean by that is when we're seeing these situations, when we're seeing all of these issues that are going on through a video or through an online media, a type of online media, then it can be difficult to grasp the impact we're actually having on real people and real places. Whether it's a person-to-person thing or a sustainability club, it's really different from when you're reading about these things versus when you're really there and firsthand seeing everything that's happening. So the summer trip was really valuable in that sense, being there and understanding, hearing from the actual people and experiencing those things firsthand was really a moment of reflection for me and kind of my work so far in TASSEL, as well as reflecting and taking those reflections onto, how can I improve and how can I do better in the future. So yeah. So that's all I have for today. Kaitlyn and Sebin, thank you once again so much for joining and sharing your thoughts. Service is ultimately not bound by the word service itself, or only volunteering. It's much more than that. I think from my experiences and more importantly, my reflections, it's a relationship that opens up for a greater perspective, purpose, and values that go beyond just the 4 years of high school. So this was The Human Threads, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. See you next time.